This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin our number 2 VSiN By The Books. I'm Dave Ross here, Circus Sports, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, wearing my green Planet Hollywood here in Las Vegas. My mom said, hey, what do those shirts say? Ma, this is from when I came to Vegas almost 10 years ago, so the shirt's a little bit small for me today to wear, so that's why I had to put the jacket over top. You are rocking, she said, what does Jensen's shirt say? Cleveland is what that says, with the Masters motif.
So good. Shout out to Mama there for tuning in as always. And yeah, just one of those, those fun hometown shirts from one of the local providers here. So again, we are very short. This is why we need, the remote broadcast from Augusta, so we can upgrade, not only our green, but our Masters paraphernalia.
Let me ask you this. If for the great state of Ohio, is because you're rocking the Masters shirt for Cleveland, is the ultimate golf course in Ohio, is it Jack's place at the Memorial there? Yeah,
in Dublin. I think that's probably,
That's the number one in Ohio?
Yeah, I would. Firestone Country Club,
Firestone's
of course,
really good,
is in there as well. But boy, tough to top those two for sure.
Maybe we could do one at the Memorial.
I love that. Great. Right where I was thinking to go. Absolutely.
We'll have Jack on the set. Could you imagine you and I sitting down with the Golden Bear talking to Jack Nicklaus?
Yes.
He'd do it, too. He's awesome. He's great with the media. Better with the media than some of the modern-day players, but we'll leave it at that. It is time, hour number 2, for our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Of course, J. Rose still leading Augusta is the overall headline here at 7 under par, but some baseball headlines as well. Jensen, how about Joe Adell? This is a guy that oozes talent. They've been talking about him for years in Anaheim. Third player in Halo's history to hit 2 homers in 1 inning. What'd you make of that accomplishment?
Oh my gosh, incredible too. That down in Tampa, and so again, part of our handicap for many that have followed us on the Sacramento overs, and also looking at these no-run first innings. Also, as I told you, Tampa, as the weather starts to improve here, not only great day one for left-handed hitters, but also that ball is going to start to travel because it's the exact dimensions of Yankee Stadium up in the Bronx. So remarkable day. The Angels offense just pulverized Tampa in that series finale. And overall, they've swung the bat quite well. 65 runs scored. If I were to tell you, Dave, that is the second most runs scored in the American League, second only to the New York Yankees. Would that surprise you?
Yes, it would surprise me. And our resident Halo backer here on the network is Jonathan Von Tobel. And he'll rock that gear when he comes on with us at Night Sweet Halos hat. 8-4 for the L.A. Angels of Orange County of Anaheim, and just a half game back of the Rangers. Look, I know it's a 1-game sample size for Adell, but is there something can they look at him and say, yeah, finally he's starting to come into his own a little bit?
Oh, I think they can. And you look at the set. I misspoke. I'm sorry. Third most runs scored. The Red Sox have 71, but still top 3 offense in the American League right now. And you look at just the RBI totals overall. Mike Trout, 5 homers, 11 ribbies. Remember, he led all of baseball last year with 10 bombs before he got hurt. Logan O'Hoppe has 5. Remember, Jonathan Von Tobel, big fan of Logan O'Hoppe. But yeah, Joe Adell now 8 RBIs, the pair of homers yesterday. Still only hitting 226, so the average department needs to come up there. But some of these numbers here, Kyron Paris, if you're a fantasy player out there, and also if you're looking to capitalize on total base props, that's a guy who has been phenomenal too. He has 5 home runs. So the Angels have 5 guys with 5 home runs apiece right now. 393 average, Kyron Paris pacing the Angel offense at the moment.
It's interesting because you look at what we just saw in March Madness, where it was very chalky. All 4 number 1 seeds, obviously. So you have a number 1 seed winning the whole thing with Houston cutting down the nets. So far at Augusta, Justin Rose, say what you want, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer one day. If he's, to me, he's a Hall of Famer, winning that major at Marion, winning an Olympic gold medal, and Scotty Scheffler right there, and Bryson DeChambeau is probably going to be a Hall of Famer one day too. So it's very chalky there. It feels like baseball so far, there's always some surprises early in the year. Could you make the case that the Angels and the Blue Jays in the American League have been those surprises, but do they have staying power to match up with some of that chalk?
I think they could be intriguing here if we get to May 1st and they're right within striking distance. Because honestly, Dave, I think I've talked to you a lot about pitching and where that ends up being the equalizer here for some teams in the American League with how balanced and how much parity there is. Again, you bring in Kikuchi as your top free agent signee on the pitching side to be your ace. Jose Soriano is going to need to stay healthy, and he's done actually pretty well thus far. Kyle Hendricks has been unbelievable in a couple of starts, and then some of their young guys need to step up as well. But back into the bullpen has also been a thing that they've needed to address. They had Carlos Estevez. He has gone. Kenley Jansen in there now. We kind of said maybe it's a stepping stone spot for Kenley. Like, okay, you pitch well, you get traded to contender because the Angels won't be in it. We shall see. And this is why you have, overreaction month positively and negatively. But the Angels thus far, boy, light up the halo a lot so far in 2025.
If we're going to put relievers in the hall one day, maybe Kenley Jansen might have designs on that as well. Let's get to the College World Series. And again, talking about chalk, how it's been very chalky, it feels like so far over the sporting landscape, at least to begin 2025. When you see these numbers to check in on these College World Series odds, Jensen, what stands out to you, and do you think this will be chalky as well?
All right, so I'll be in actually Oxford, Mississippi this weekend on Sunday to do the Tennessee Ole Miss series finale for SEC Network. And I think what I'll be really intrigued about is Coach Tony Vitello at Tennessee. I mean, they're a wrecking crew. That offense has been phenomenal. Their pitching has been ridiculously good. They are probably the most well-rounded and balanced team, and thus the odds-on favorite. LSU is right behind them there at plus 750. Arkansas, who's actually number one right now in the rankings, Dave, is 9-1, and would love to get people on them because I think Woo Pig Sooie is going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially with them being on the road to a national seed, perhaps a national number one seed.
Wow.
I looked a little bit farther down here. Let me give you some value picks. I think Texas at 15-1, Wake Forest, who has always been one of those pitching powerhouses at 35-1 is very sneaky. Oklahoma and Florida both at 40-1 respectively are teams that you would look at. Hard for me to buy in on Vanderbilt, my alma mater. I hate to do this, but Dave, just offensively, I don't know if they have enough power the way that you've got to be able to hit here in college baseball. Here are some dark horses for you.
Okay.
Not pictured here, but write these down. East Carolina at 100-1.
Ooh.
Listen, they are a mid-major that has great upset potential. They've got an opportunity, depending on what regional they get in, to really cause some headaches. Dallas Baptist, a traditional powerhouse, they always hit the ball well. Down there in Texas, they will find themselves in a regional that also will be very intriguing to see. They're at 100-1. Some of the big long shots, and I can't wait to throw these out to Lou Finocchiaro coming up. UC Santa Barbara at 150-1 and Louisiana Lafayette at 150-1.
Wow.
Those are some big long ones. But again, talk about this for NCAA and March Madness. You want to diversify the portfolio, and in the college baseball landscape, because those regionals lead into super regionals, you'll have massive hedge opportunities to get into the eventual 18 College World Series, which is double elimination. So imagine, for instance, having a Dallas Baptist team that finds their way into the College World Series. You got a 100-1 ticket on them. You're going to hedge all the way through, and you're going to make a boatload of profit.
It seems like when I look at geography speaking here, a lot of teams down south.
Believe it.
Right? That's where we're playing some of the best baseball. When I wore a much younger man's clothes and newspapers were still a thing in this country, I worked outside of Raleigh for a newspaper there. One of the first columns I wrote, Jensen, was about East Carolina. Yes. And back then, David Garrard and Jeff Blake were quarterbacks in the NFL that came out of ECU. And I talked about how they could be like a mini hub for quarterbacks in the NFL. A guy came into my office, his name is Don Hall, and he introduced himself as, "I'm Don Hall, a man about town. I'd like to talk to you about your column." I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I don't know if you know where you work, but we don't write about Greensville here. We don't write about East Carolina for Greenville here in this part of North Carolina." And I understand very quickly the geography of the South and certain schools that you write about, certain schools that you don't. And ECU has always been kind of one of those smaller schools that we don't talk about down south, but you do like them potentially be live at that 100-1.
Oh man, if nothing else, have some pizza money on it and have them in your portfolio. You just never know with the regional and super regional setups here in college baseball. A lot of live long shot tickets for people if they want to play them.
I'll just say this. In any profession, if you move to a new town and somebody introduces himself as a man about town.
Man about town.
You probably want to listen. That man knows what's going on in that town, and I did not write about East Carolina any longer. Speaking of down south again, we're going to talk a lot more about the Masters. We had a great conversation yesterday with Mike Palm in studio about the liability. Like, Jensen, we don't see all the time where maybe you got a $2 million liability on a golfer. It got the attention here of some of the ticket writers here and certainly of some of our listeners. So we'll get to all that when we come back here. But I do think, again, with Rory kind of struggling a little bit yesterday in day one, is he live at 12-1? Again, 1450 here at Circa. If you want to make that wager, I understand it again, but I still think it's a little bit short for me what the true value of being even par 7 back of Justin Rose down south there at Augusta, what that number should be. Would you take, if you didn't have, you already have positions on Colin Morikawa. If you didn't, would you take a 33-1 on Colin today?
100%. Yeah, I do feel that he had some opportunities yesterday, gave a couple of strokes back, but absolutely would do it. By the way, we do have 6 golfers underway.
Oh.
Only Laurie Cantor, a lone birdie thus far for the 6 golfers underway.
We'll have to update that because we don't get to do that very often where we broadcast here our neck of the woods at VSiN each and every morning. By the way, $59 summer special right now, VSiN.com/subscribe. This offer is good through August 1st. Daily best bets, exclusive betting splits, expert analysis, and betting systems. They're all there for you when you go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. It is VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here, getting ready for that second round. It is underway at Augusta National. You didn't blow a whole lot of saves, so you didn't have this situation. But you're going to have days where your stuff wasn't your best stuff, right? Did you want to get right back out there the next day to kind of erase it? Like, I'm looking at guys like Rory that maybe finish late, get back out there early. Like, is that the best way to kind of dust yourself off and get right back out there, or is it still too fresh?
No, it's great. It's a great thought process, and I thought the same thing yesterday. Looking at those guys in the final groups, I thought of DeChambeau, who, by the way, was out on the range for people that do the shot tracking on the ranges. Holy crap, he was out there for a long time. But yeah, that would definitely be where I'd be. You were in that right frame of mind. You were striking it well. Maybe an unforced error or two. The one where he chips and it goes into the drink. But again, I still think it's that part of the mentality of here we go again. Like that's the biggest demon Rory's got to get over.
Yes.
And so if he does that, then fine. I won't be adding any positions on him at least today. I want to see kind of where he's at after round 2.
It is funny because we've talked about it for months leading up to Augusta, and certainly this week here in the program of like, and I saw somebody tweet it out too. I can't remember where it came from, but it was basically something tells me that it's not about the course and about Rory's swing. It's about what's between the ears. This is all it is. It's just here that everything else lines up perfectly for Rory coming in here. And by the way, I'm looking now just at some of the live pictures, and if there was ever a weather day, because the weather looks pretty good all week, it is right now early. Like I'm seeing Justin Rose out there. He looks like he's got, I don't want to say a parka, but he's got like some sort of windbreaker on, that if the winds are going to be up a little bit, it might be now. So if the dicier conditions might be a little bit of a flip from yesterday here. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, if I'm Rory, you didn't talk to the media again and you kind of just get out of there. Maybe you just need a good night's sleep and not overthink it a little bit. But man, it does feel like it's between the ears a little bit for Roars. We had Mike Palm in the program as we do each and every Thursday. And we always like to get, certainly for a big event like Augusta, and I would have assumed the biggest liability was going to be Rory, Scotty, the traditional guys. But in our conversation with Mike yesterday, Jensen, That's not who they're sweating out. Let's hear from Mike yesterday, and we'll update where this sweat is here on a Friday.
This was a referral from another book from somebody that used to work with Jeff Benson. Said we have a really good customer. He's probably our second biggest sports customer, and his company or whatever is sponsoring Matt McCarty, and he wants to bet 10,000 on Matt McCarty. Now, Matt McCarty's 775 to 1.
Holy what?
So we cannot take a bet to lose $8 million. That would be foolish. That would be foolish. Even though Matt, I mean,
he's not going to win. It's a debutant. Debutants have never won.
Like Jeff Benson's like take 100, take to lose 80 million. He can't win. He can't win. And Jeff Davis points out what he could win. They're running their model says he wins 1 out of 967 times or something like that. But anyhow,
but could you say the numbers again? You took how much of the bet did you take?
We took to win $2 million.
So you didn't give him the $8 million, but gave him $2 million.
Yeah, we gave him a quarter of the bet, $2,500.
That's all right.
That's all right, okay. Right?
I'm still blown away. I'm still blown away that in 2025 somebody's coming up to Mike and Jeff Benson and Derek Stevens here, and they're saying, I want to bet 10,000 on a guy that's 775 to 1 to win this, to win $8 million. Mm-hmm. And again, easy for me to say, Jensen, because it's not our money. It's Derek's money, right? They go, take it all. Take the whole bet. But a day later, all of a sudden, I would never have charted Matt McCarty's round, right? But because of Mike and the liability that they have, he was 2 under through 2. And you started to go, oh, no. Like, this isn't going to really happen. You hopped in. You said, let's have a little bit of fun with this. What bet did you place yesterday?
Yeah, so he was down from 400 to 1. Then he went to 3. I texted you guys. He's at 3 under. So I hopped in at 250 to 1. I just threw $25 on it. I mean, hey, it's a very expensive Five Guys meal. But I looked at him like, you got to be kidding me. By the way, you talk about guys that had great rounds early and then have to wait to turn around. Matt McCarty's not going to have to do that because he tees here at in about 4 minutes. And he's in the group with Tommy Hoagie and Christian Bezadenhout. So -1 right now is where Matt McCarty finished yesterday. And that's where he'll start today. So anxious to see what the youngster does. By the way, just to update you, the course is playing tougher. Only a couple of birdies, Rafi Campos and Laurie Cantor, birdies on the course. But Cam Davis even through 2, Austin Eckroat +1, Adam Schenk +1, Angel Cabrera +1. So already seeing some early resistance here in round 2 of the Masters.
We got a great tweet from Jared Eisenlore. He's at Jared E22.
He hopped in.
Well, crap. Let's have some fun at me, Mike Palm, VSiN Live. And that's from listening. And by the way, we really do. We appreciate everybody who watches and listens. And then let's have some fun. $15 put on it, 400 to 1. So that payout is over $6,000. If Matt McCarty wins the Masters. He's 6 back. He's at 1 under par. Again, I cannot believe we're sitting here talking about Matt McCarty. That's because when Mike gives us that gem of a story of what goes on, that's why we have guests like Mike on to tell you these are real live conversations that the books are having, that the liability department is having, of how much of this bet should we take. So they end up taking 10 grand. Now, look, I'm with Mike and I'm with Jeff Benson, and I think it's going to be the easiest 10 grand that they make. But how do you feel today that he is under par, and there were not a ton of players under par? Again, Colin Morikawa is not under par. Rory McIlroy is not under par. Matt McCarty is. It's like this isn't going to be I don't think you're sweating if you're 6 back of Justin Rose, but you're only 3 back of Scotty Scheffler. I don't know that Matt McCarty's going to run down Scotty Scheffler and win this thing at 775, which they gave out here pre-tournament. But you're just watching this, right? You're just charting this from a risk management perspective.
I mean, you look at our projected cut. If indeed, it is around that +3, +4. First of all, he's got to get through.
We got to make the cut.
I don't revisit this ticket unless he is top 50 with ties after today. Then I'll revisit it.
Right. I don't want to sweat it unnecessarily. I'm not going to shot track him, on masters.org or whatever it might be.
This is you're buying some stock that you're like, if it goes up, great. If not, I didn't need this $25 anyway. So boom, it was already spent. There you go.
Jared, we really do appreciate you watching, listening, having a little bit of fun, putting some pizza money on that at $15. I'll say this, with your golfers that you have, are you superstitious in that? Like, I always wait for I call it the big coverage when it's on, big ESPN. By the way, I know some people are upset with the Masters app. I thought it was great. I enjoyed the coverage in the front nine. I had no problem navigating and watching what I wanted to watch, who I wanted to watch. But, I wanted to watch Joaquin Neiman yesterday, right, for our selfish purposes. Are you one of those people that, I don't want to see my golfer and check them shot for shot, and then if they show up on the broadcast, that means they're kind of getting in the mix? Are you superstitious like that?
No, I really like to watch some of the featured groups. And, if you have the Masters app, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You can jump around wherever you want. You want to go to Amen Corner, great. If you want to go to 4, 5, and 6, awesome. 15 and 16. Again, right now, feature groups are the Justin Rose and the Rory McIlroy groups. I'll have it on here as soon as we're done. But I love just having the ability to kind of jump around, see different guys, because then you get the full swath starting tomorrow. You get best of the best, whoever's made it, the surprise guys, the usual suspects. So the only thing I did just add for VSiN Pro subscribers, I did jump on Hideki at plus 330, top 10, including ties on DraftKings, because I told you I have that boost on DraftKings, so I used it on that. 90-1 for a guy that's got history as a past champion. Probably had opportunities yesterday. Not mad at you. I know the cup maker, Jeff Seeley, likes him as well at that number too.
I will say this. What I like the most, and check your books, is that you got including ties. Because I would just say this. William Hill, I use their app a lot out here at Nevada. They're at different states as well. They don't include ties. So you know what I do not bet at William Hill? I don't bet that market, because you're going to get burned if you do not read that fine print and it says excluding ties. When you get that, you're going to get a lot of ties in these groups. You want to be on Jensen's side here. Include those ties, people. Cannot stress that enough. If you got to pay a little bit extra, I think that's much more worthy of play than excluding those ties. By the way, you want to bet NBA prop markets? You can do it. Check out Unabated. It's going to include expert, profitable player props projections for every game in real time. NBA news, you got to know that. Who's sitting, who's starting. Those projection scenarios are out there to help and see what a player's status is going to be and impact the projection of their teammates as well. So access to Unabated's expert team through their Discord channels and regular interactive live streams. Go to unabated.com/VSiN. That's unabated.com/VSIN. When we come back, Lou Finocchiaro going to break down UFC 314. That is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here on the Friday edition of, and again, we're rocking our green for Augusta, day number 2 down there in Georgia for the Masters. It's not lost in the shuffle. That's certainly not the case, because all eyes will be down there in Miami for a massive pay-per-view card here for UFC 314. We got 2 5-round fights in the lightweight and featherweight divisions. The featherweight titles on the line here with Alexander Volkanovski against Diego Lopez. To help us break it all down, the one and only Lou Finocchiaro joins the program now on the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on X at Gamblou, the host of the Bout Business podcast, my mom and dad's favorite. They're in Arizona. Lou, great to have you back on the program, my friend. The numbers have been changing all week on the main event, and I almost thought by the time we got, Jensen and I have been looking at this since Monday, and the money kept coming in on Volkanovski. And I felt like we might even get, kept coming in on Lopez. I thought we might get a flip of faves. And now I feel like the buyback is happening, and money is starting to come back to Volkanovski's side. And now we're sitting in our Friday at minus $1.42 for Volk, plus $1.20 for Diego. What do you make of those subtle line moves through the week?
First of all, thanks for having me on, guys. This is a great show, and I love jumping in with you two. What I make is that the number on Volkanovski got so attractive that the sideline sharps had to jump in, and that's exactly what they did to move this line back. I think those that still want Volkanovski and didn't get the minus 120 like others did a day or so ago, I would tell you to be patient, because when the tsunami of public starts to bet this, I think recency will re-arise or re-raise Lopez, and you could see some more compression in the Volkanovski price.
Lou, I wrote down a description because I always love your insight. And when I looked at Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, Dave and I kind of going back and forth about there is going to be no secrets from the first seconds of this fight. We know what Chandler wants to do. We know what Paddy kind of wants to do. Here's what I wrote down. Tell me if you feel it's right. Chandler's wrestling and power give him an early edge, but Pimblett's youth, momentum, and submission skills could turn the tide in a longer fight. If Chandler can't secure an early finish, Pimblett's cardio and grappling might lead to a late submission. And I wrote down my prediction: Paddy Pimblett via submission in round 3. Am I close?
I mean, first of all, I'm no authority, but yeah, I don't think you're far off at all. I think most people could write it like that. The wild card in the thing, Jensen, is Michael Chandler the fighter coming out? Does he need to win? Does he want to win? Or is Michael Chandler the entertainer coming out that's 2-4 in the UFC and going to just throw caution to the wind to sell tickets and endear himself? And for that reason, just like you and Dave, I've been going back and forth on this fight. And when it goes back and forth all the way to Friday morning, it's probably a stand back and watch. The one thing I would add to Paddy's advantages is his massive size. He's going to tower over and look like a different weight class than Mike Chandler will be. But make no mistake about it, Paddy's chin is up in engagements, and Mike Chandler got fight-ending power.
Well, you and I have talked about Paddy Pimblett for years here on this network, Lou, and we've been looking for fade spots for Paddy. And we're hard-pressed to find him, right? So he's $1.48 here. That total is sitting at 1.5. Remember, this is potentially a 5-round fight here in the co-main event. So you're setting the books are setting this at minus 215 juice to the over. So you would expect it to go longer than 7.5 minutes. Can Paddy finish Michael that quickly? Because if you're playing the under, then I think you're playing a Chandler KO, that he finds that chin, even though Paddy says it's made of granite. I don't know if it is, because we've never really seen it tested before here. Does Paddy have to get the fight down to the ground? Because I don't think he wants to play a hands game for however long it goes with Michael Chandler.
I think he does, Dave. I don't think Paddy's striking is such that he wants to spend too much time fighting Michael Chandler at Chandler's strength. And so I think the over is a safe consideration based on Paddy's plan to take some steam out of Chandler and find his neck. I like the Paddy sub. I don't think he can put him away with hands, especially if Chandler comes out to try and win the fight.
Lou, the rest of the main card, things that stand out to you for a couple of these other fights, some things that I wrote down when you think about, where Yair Rodriguez is in his experience in striking. I looked at the decision there. Any of the other ones that stand out to you, perhaps some advantages or angles we could exploit?
There's been some recent love for Dominic Reyes. I'm not sure if he's done enough to prove to me, even though Krylov has been off for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I think he has the ability to get in close and dominate Dominic Reyes. Yair Rodriguez, Patricio Pitbull Freire, fascinating fight. To me, Patricio takes the Frankie Edgar approach and hits Yair where he's weak, and that's in wrestling. He's improved there, but that's not his bread and butter. It'd be suicide for a short, sawed-off power striker like Freire to stand at distance with Yair. Finally, the fight of the quarter, Bryce Mitchell and Jean Silva, hatred personified.
Yes.
Silva barking dog at Mitchell. Mitchell, a guy he's backed up against a wall. The UFC wants him out. That's why they gave him this killer. He knows it. We're going to see Bryce Mitchell's best fight. I'm on Silva in some second leg parlays, but I'm looking hard at Mitchell in the plus 3.5 points. Mitchell's ranked. Mitchell's been in with better competition. and he shouldn't be totally discarded. In fact, Jean Silva opened 450. He's now minus 218.
I was going to say, that's been the big money mover here, is towards the Bryce Mitchell side here. And again, if this is, they're saying this is maybe the most popular fight on the card for many different reasons, and it maybe have very little to do with fighting, how much of bad blood there is. How do you factor that in? This doesn't feel fabricated to sell a fight. This feels like real animosity towards one another. Does that affect? Because Bryce, he can't get in a firefight with Silva. He'll get knocked out. He's got to wrestle and get the fight down to the ground and be a smarter fighter. But Bryce Mitchell and intelligence sometimes does not go hand in hand.
Yeah, and Brazilians and high IQ don't either. And I think this Jean Silva's poking this dog through the fence, poking him, and there's a hole in the fence down the way. Listen, I'm no Bryce Mitchell fan. I'm a fight handicapper. And to me, the difference between this fight and Brito and Sabatini last week is that Bryce Mitchell is so tall. I think Mitchell could find difficulty trying to get the takedown against Jean Silva, and that's where he runs into trouble. It'll be where this fight is competed. Mitchell has to get it to the ground, and if he does, I think he submits the barking Brazilian.
All right, Lou, last one from me. As always, I have to get a little college baseball in with you. I will be deep in the South this weekend. I'll be calling the Ole Miss Tennessee game on Sunday. Any advice you'd like me to give to Coach Mike Bianco there at Ole Miss, or Coach Tony Vitello there for the Tennessee Volunteers?
Yes, and maybe not the coaches, but maybe the network people. You tell them you need your color man Gamblu with you the next time you go to one of those games, because I'm jealous as I can be. That should be a great game. The SEC is in. I heard you guys talking a little earlier, UCSB, Irvine, some of these other teams. I would really look hard for the markets to reach the College World Series with those teams, because I believe deep down in my heart, if they get there like Oregon last year or others, they won't be able to compete, in my opinion.
Very quickly, I do want to ask you about the big dog on the card. It's on the prelims, and it's a guy that I know you and I have an affinity for, and Jim Miller against Chase Hooper. And I love the dream. Chase the guy is growing up right before our eyes in the octagon. Can we make a case for Jim Miller as the biggest dog at 6-1 against this is the young against the old? Does the old man have a shot here?
Yeah, you got me. I don't really know, but here I will say this: Mitch Raposo has a really good shot. He's an underdog, and I believe he wins his fight
against Sumajeri. That's a plus $1.45 on the Raposo side there on this undercard. It's really, really deep as well. Very quickly, Lou, tell the people what they get when they tune in to the Bout Business podcast each and every week.
They get a little too much of me, but besides me, what they do get are my releases each week for each week's UFC fight card. Weigh-ins begin in about 20 minutes, and so the Bout Business podcast will be out earlier than usual because of the East Coast weigh-ins. You guys, your show is great. I really like it. I want to say hi to Mom Ross, and thank you guys for having me in.
I know that they are watching, and they love whenever you're on the program, and we can't wait to talk to you next week, as we always do here for UFC and beyond. Lou, enjoy it. I can't wait to follow you on Twitter. Everybody do that, @GamBlue. Your insights into the weigh-ins sometimes do affect the way that I bet. So you need to check out Lou. You got your eye certainly on what's going to happen at UFC 314. When we come back, is it news, is it noise? That is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
Fantastic conversation in the last segment with Lou Finocchiaro breaking down UFC 314. I'll give you some of my best bets coming up before this show is over down there in Miami. It's going to be an amazing card. We do have some breaking news. This is real breaking news in Cleveland, in your neck of the woods there, Jensen. And it looks like the quarterback room is starting to get filled, at least for next year in Cleveland. Joe Flacco is back in the fold in Cincinnati, signing a 1-year deal. So he's returning to the team that obviously he won the Comeback Player of the Year award just a couple seasons ago. So it's Kenny Pickett and it's Joe Flacco. Jensen, what do we make of this news? Does this surprise you they're bringing Flacco back?
Not really. I think this may close the book, though, on Kevin Stefanski going and getting, or at least say Andrew Berry and company going to get Kirk Cousins, because why would you kind of overload that if you're still looking for your quarterback of the future? This would give me some smoke, though, because they have been inundated a bit with Jackson Dart of Ole Miss. And if this means potentially trading back into the first round to try and get him, we know that Travis Hunter has been up there now as far as what that number 2 pick could look like. So anxious to see what the back half of the draft now looks like in the first round for the Browns. But I think this answers sort of what they're looking for here, at least for a year, in case whoever they're going to draft a quarterback, whoever they take may not be ready for year one. So a guy that already knows the system, comfortable. I tell you, you would talk about a beloved guy in Cleveland. For as many years as he broke our hearts as quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, he inundated himself so well to the community here. He will be beloved. And boy, standing O's for him when he takes the field for the Browns coming back this year.
It is wild what is happening there in that quarterback room. Obviously gone, Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, at least for next year. And then you've got Kenny Pickett and you've got Joe Flacco. And you're looking at a win total of 4.5, Jensen, for the Browns. And I'm like, I trust Kevin Stefanski. Do we trust Andrew Berry? Do we know this is the right path to clean it out, the quarterback room, bring in 2 veterans, draft in a rookie, wherever and whomever that might be? That's the clear path, right?
Again, when you think about where this team is in this division, that's why I told you I think you need competency, a period. And Kenny Pickett is not a guy I would trust on an over 4.5 win ticket. It just not someone that when you look at just the division alone, he's not beating Baltimore. He's certainly not beating Cincinnati. And why would I have any faith in him beating his old team in Pittsburgh? So I think that's probably where you look at Joe Flacco has been proven with whatever weapons are around him that he can make it work. And so I think that lends us a little bit more towards, that number is probably not changing for the division future until we see what happens post draft. But on a win total, absolutely, I could hitch my wagon to an over with Joe Flacco from week number 1.
Yeah, still 30-1 to win that division for the Cleveland Browns. So with this news, it is news that Joe Flacco is now back in Cleveland, signed to a 1-year deal. But without further ado, it's time to figure out if this is news or noise.
Is it news?
Corleone is a man who insists on hearing bad news immediately.
Or just noise?
Are you going to act like this is news? Just noise. This is noise.
Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
We've got a shift in the odds market when it comes to the great Caitlin Clark. Her WNBA MVP odds are now plus 235. Nearly 65% of the handle coming in on the Indiana Fever star. What do we make of this? Is this news or a lot of noise?
All right, so I think honestly, this is more so of, okay, Caitlin Clark runs the sport, and you need to get on board with it because she's the biggest draw. She's what people want to see. And if you needed just a little bit more of impetus about where the Indiana Fever perspective is, I think they're the 4th betting choice right now to win the WNBA. I know a great friend of our program, the cup maker, Jeff Seeley, has really been advocating that it's a 4-team race in the WNBA this year. And the Fever, certainly with Caitlin Clark, would be one of those favorites to be able to hoist the trophy. So it doesn't shock me. With Wilson, where she's been, and of course, her 3 previous MVPs, hard pressed to think it's outside of these 2, at least at the moment, to just knowing where the odds are at this point.
Again, she is still behind A'ja Wilson. She is currently 2-1 to win this award, and she's been the MVP of this league 3 times. So Caitlin Clark's starting to close the gap there between the great A'ja Wilson as well. How about this? This is a tradition unlike any other. We got Cody DuBose. He's a Clemson graduate, and he now resides in Houston. So when he has his watch parties for Augusta, what he likes to do is he buys outright tickets for Rory McIlroy. And this is not the first time that he's done this. and he's going to buy these at $50 a pop. So plus 650 is the number he got on Roars, and then gives them out to the people at the watch party. So everybody's got a little something at stake here. What do we make of this? News or noise?
I was thinking about if you are a newly engaged gentleman out there and thinking of your friends that maybe some gamblers in there. This would be great groomsmen gifts.
Oh, yes.
And I think if people have done it before, I'm sure people have. But that to me, if you're going on a golf trip and, it's around a major, I think of you, Dave, eventually, where, you buy for your eventual groomsmen. I think about your affinity for the British Open. And I think this would be something that you would do, is buying the outright tickets for an Englishman or an Irishman. Could you imagine Rory McIlroy having the outright tickets and being able to go overseas and watch the Open together? I think it'd be a great time.
This is true. When I was younger, and maybe I'll get married one day. I don't know, but I always thought, how do I pick my best man? Because my friends, I love them dearly, and I couldn't really pick one over the other. Like, I hate that you'd have to pick amongst your great friends. So that's always, it's not about the woman and getting married. It's about who's the best man. I don't want to do that. This would be a great idea, because if you gave out all the tickets equally, it doesn't show favoritism.
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly.
Unless the amount was different and you gave him more to the best. You couldn't do that. Right? It'd have to be equal amounts for all the groomsmen, right?
Oh man, well maybe behind the curtain there, you say, okay, I appreciate you being the guy and standing up there with me. Could you imagine if that sweat is real on your bachelor party trip, and it centers around going to the Open, and the tickets that you bought are live. I mean, you want to talk about a party of parties? If those tickets got home, oh my God.
You know how you avoid having those issues that I mentioned? Elope. You just elope. We don't have to do this. So Tyler Folger, my buddy there at ESPN, he eloped out. My mom eloped when she was younger. You just roll out. That's the easy way to do it, right?
It is a cost-saving maneuver if you want to just get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Hey, there's some lavish ceremonies that money could be spent much better elsewhere.
And then we'll just have the big party when you come back.
There you go.
Not a bad way to go either. You mentioned the second round of Augusta National is underway. We do also have some fake breaking news, if you will. Matt McCarty, we've been keeping an eye on this youngster.
Yes.
Because of the liability here at Circa. What would that be?
Yes.
It was going to be
$2 million?
Because they didn't take the $8 million liability, but they took a couple mil liability if Matt McCarty won Augusta. I think Mike Palm, Jeffrey Benson, Derek Stevens.
Breathing a sigh of relief. 2
over par to begin his round today. So he's 1 over for the tournament. Not saying he can't do it, but I think your point of make the cut first and then it's a sweat. He might not be around for the weekend. There might be zero sweat here at Circa.
Yeah, and also just to update people, Laurie Cantor right now has the low round of the day, 2 under through 3, brings him to 3 over. Brian Campbell is now 1 under, and an interesting move right there. He now is tied for 11th. Also, Bubba Watson, even through 2. The sweet swinging lefty there, pars on the par 4 and par 5. That's an interesting guy to watch. And we kind of highlighted, too, some of the old guard. I know TG brought up Freddie Couples and what he did yesterday. Fred Couples going to start the day at -1. You think other past champions, you look at Patrick Reed, some of these other guys that have actually played well. Zach Johnson's at even par. Anxious to see where some of these old timers, if you will, finish their day after round 2.
I'll be looking for Cam Davis. I've got a top 20 ticket on the talented young Australian. He's got to make the cut first. And right now, even par through 4. So he's sitting at T50. And again, Jensen, we're looking at that projected cut line right around 3 over.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be. And let's see if the course and the weather conditions alter a little bit. Could go to 4. But if we don't have a lot of scoring early, then guys might have a little bit more of a buffer.
Make the cut, Australian. You can do it for me, Cam. Hang in there, buddy. Hedge Boost, it's the first ever bank account built just for bettors. Ensures all gambling transactions are always approved. No usage fees, no minimums, earn cashback rewards, 100% approval on all your betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code BOOK, the name of this show. Deposit $25. Edge Boost is going to match that deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. The commish, Danny Graves, is next.